Hello, hello. Are we live? Hello, everyone. This is Dailey at Healing Heart Reiki, and I wanted to speak today about the magical secrets of Spring Equinox. Spring Equinox is not that far away. It is actually this upcoming Monday, the 20th. And so as we head into this week, the rest of this week towards that next date, I think now is a good time to talk about what Spring Equinox is all about and why it's important for us as energy healers and as healing practitioners and as people who love spirituality. So, if you've been around for a while, you know that I love to talk about how powerful it is when we as humans remember that we're part of Earth and we align ourselves with the sort of natural agricultural seasons and the eightfold earth-based wheel of the year. And part of that wheel is, if you're not familiar with that, we're talking about the equinoxes and the solstices, which mark the first day of each season, spring, summer, fall, and winter, as well as the cross quarters between that, the halfway points between each of those, which are very magical times and have their own energies associated. So here we are on this cross quarter approaching the cross quarter of the spring. And the equinox for spring is really a powerful time for us as energy healers to actually look at the sacred balances in our lives and where we have dynamic balance and where we probably could use better balance with things. And the reason for this theme is that the spring equinox is actually the time of year. There's only two of these that happen each year. It's the time of year when the daylight and the evening are actually equally balanced. So after this first day of spring that's coming, you will find that your days start to get like they've already been getting brighter, but they're going to start to get even brighter heading into the summer. And that extra light is what allows the seeds that we plant to grow. It's what allows us to get more light into our eyeballs and into our brains, so that we really do come out of hibernation and we start to function with our full force and authority on this planet. Now, for spring equinox, there are gods and goddesses that are associated with these sacred holidays, these earth holidays. And one that I grew up learning about was Ostara. Ostara is a Germanic goddess. She goes by a couple of different names, like slightly different spelling throughout different parts of Europe, but she's an old goddess who is a goddess of springtime. And her stories and her energy remind us that the spring brings fertility, it brings new babies, it brings life. Ostara's sacred animals are the rabbit, even the jackrabbit, which is like very physical, huge, and full of creative life. And in Celtic tradition, is a huge symbol of creativity. And I think about us being in the year of the rabbit, even in Chinese medicine, and we just have a lot of that creative potential this year. Ostara is also known for her eggs, and in one of the old traditions for Ostara, you would dye the eggs red, right? So if any of this sounds familiar, maybe it sounds like Easter, Ostara, Eastara. There's relationships between these old beings and these old stories that we as people have been translating and sharing through different cultures for many eons. I think the power of the goddess and the archetypes and the stories of the goddess at these times of year is that she's there to remind us, and her myths and her stories connect us to the very human parts of us that are also aligned with the season. Seeing a creative being like Ostara reminds us that we too have this potential for creative regeneration in our lives. And as we come through spring equinox, it's actually through finding those important balance points within us, finding how we can kind of hold and walk dynamically through life, that we then, like through that centering, we then are able to open up the deeper well of our energy for all of the creativity that wants to pour forth from us, right? So the balancing and the planting of seeds at this time of year, the planting of ideas, the channeling of possibilities, the channeling of all of the things that swirled around in the dark winter, all of our ideas and hopes and possibilities, as the light starts to come forth, if we can create some dynamic balance and space, then we naturally flow forth with our creativity. And that is the gift of spring equinox, right? On a very abstract level. In ancient Egypt, the goddess Ma'at, sometimes called Ma'et, she's a goddess also known for balance. And the name, like Ma'at, actually her name means the plinth, or this kind of foundation stone or wood that the whole world would sit on top of. So the spirit and energy of the goddess Ma'at from Egypt is all about actually understanding the sacred laws of your heart, the cosmic laws of the universe, the practical laws of the earth plane, in order to have the foundation necessary to create what you're here to create and to share what you're here to share as a human on the earth. So whether you feel called to just working with the pure energies, or working with a goddess like Ostara, or maybe invoking the balance and the wisdom of Ma'at, this is a really great time to do it. Think of this upcoming weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as maybe a really wonderful time for you as an energy healer, either for yourself or others, to sort of hit pause and do some journaling, do some house cleaning, some preparation, to really look at where in your life you want to bring new things forth. I think in this modern day where there is so much quick gratification, like you can literally go up the street and go to a fast food place and have food in 5 minutes, I think it's easy for us to forget that really beautiful, deep, creative offerings take time and energy, planning and space, right? Like I see online a lot of really great digital programs being offered, really awesome, like, but I don't even know I allow these things in my Facebook feed, but like really awesome, crazy new products that people come up with that are essentially the same things that we see again and again and again in different packaging. And it's a lot of fun. There's just so much quick information and so much activity that it's easy for us to get away from the truth that being human takes time. Being in a physical body on this planet means that on some level, we've opted to be a part of this time-space continuum. As energy healers and metaphysicians, we know that like we can bend time at different times. We can get a lot done in short periods. We can have epiphanies that come through in half a second, right? Like there is a lot of flexibility with time, but the essential experience of being human requires us to make decisions, right? There's a certain level of polarity involved in being alive. If we decide to go this way, that means we're not going that way, at least not this time. So as you look at this upcoming spring equinox season, as we head towards this Monday, you can start to think about how the seeds that you're planting in the next couple of weeks are seeds that you really want to tend and to nourish, to cherish, and to take care of over the next few months in the summer, right? You really want the efforts that you're putting forth in your life to blossom. And if you plant a whole bunch of seeds, but you can't water them all, then something will have to give. If you plant only one seed, maybe that's hedging a lot on one small thing. So you've got to kind of think about like, maybe you're not used to gardening or planting anymore. Maybe some of you do. Think about yourself as this sacred earth tender and farmer in your life, and really think about what are the seeds that you do want to plant and see grow. And it's okay if some of them fall by the wayside. If you're planting a field of corn, maybe not all of it gets harvested, but we don't have to worry about that right now. Think about the kind of energy you have in your life. What are your days structured like right now? And what are you bringing in? If you're literally hoping to have children at this time in your life, Have you created space to have a child? Are you working on that? Do you have the right nourishment to have a baby? Are you feeding your body and your mind and your spirit the things necessary to create that blossoming? If you're working on a healing business or a healing practice, what are the specific things that you want to be doing in the next couple of weeks? What are the intentions that you're setting with this spring equinox that you want to nurture and tend through Beltane all the way into summer? And ideally, those are kind of connected to the dreams and the goals that you set in January, right? Because we're following this sacred wheel of the year. But if you're somebody that tends to set an intention and 3 weeks later you're like, oh no, that wasn't right, I want to do this, and you have that habit of like jumping all over the place, that's not always a bad thing. But for this spring, think about what happens if you plant specific seeds and then you actually water them, you actually return with consistency every few days over the next 12 weeks to really, really grow those specific visions that you're working on. And the more you return, the more that you tend that with your intention and energy, those visions become real. That's how they're birthed into the world. You start to take physical actions, and even the energy itself around it becomes so dense that you start to attract the right people to support you and be on the journey with you and to play with in life, right? So spring energy is very playful. It's very fun, but it can be really intense too, right? Like there's some intensity involved in making babies and in planting seeds. If you've ever had to plant a farm, maybe one seed in a little pot at your kitchen table is one thing. But like if you're really planting for a full harvest that will nourish you, it takes work, it takes energy, right? So we need the fun and the joy and the songs, like the singing songs that get our bodies into rhythm. We need all of those things to kind of help us start to emerge from the winter and emerge from our own doubts, emerge from our own ego fights, emerge from all of the thick outer dross and covering of our world or our seeds, so that we can really burst forth, right? So I love to create playlists on Spotify. I invite you to do the same. Imagine if you can give your spring just some like really fun music that keeps you uplifted and transforming. Another thing you can do is play with power chants for all of these sacred Wheel of the Year holidays. Choose some songs that really speak to you about spring and just remind you of the fun that you're having and the good that you're creating. And specifically, like if you're an energy healer working in business at this time and you're really trying to get your business going or you're struggling, think about right now, like you've been in like we've been through winter, your energy just very naturally with the seasons, if you take Monday to be still and kind of quiet and rest and be in pleasure, you can actually absorb the transmission of the season. That's like what you can do for all of these critical energy transit points in the year. Just be still and absorb the energy of the season. And then start to think about, like, inside of your business, what your patterns have been, right? Like what your stories are around what you're creating and the calling that you feel to get out to people. So one thing I hear a lot with newer energy healers is, oh, I really want, I'm trying, every time I try to start my business, a whole bunch of crazy stuff happens and it throws me off. And then I'm like thinking, should I even be doing this? I hear that a lot from newer energy healers that are wanting to start a business, but just kind of hesitating on the verge of that. And so I would invite you to really look at, like, if that's a pattern of yours where there's always just too much happening. What are the deeper metaphysics going on there? Like, I can tell you that something that's quite common that I've seen a lot with Reiki and with other energy healing formats and spiritual work, shamanic work is like this for sure. Some of the Egyptian work I've done, as you start to work inside of your craft with energy work, the more you do that spiritual work, the more your body and your life, you're opening up your channel to light work and to energy. The more energy that you start to channel that dislodges things, it starts to like move out old karma of yours. It's like suddenly you have so much energy flowing through your body, even if it's for other people and you're channeling for other people in session, you're receiving the healing too. And there's so much light coming through. And you're grounding. Hopefully you have to keep opening your grounding cord too, or you're going to burn out. So much light is coming through that old icky things start to dislodge, like you're in a shower and the dirt's just coming out and coming off, the funk is coming out. And so when that happens, what that looks like in real life is you may notice an acceleration of challenges. You might start to notice that like old issues come up, or issues that you just never quite resolved are suddenly like, hey, resolve me, right? And this year in general, as there's a huge vibration moving through our planet where there's a lot of healing happening anyways. So that's already accelerated. So if you're noticing that in your life, there's just like a lot coming up, and you're like, but I've been doing everything right. Why does it feel like there's like shite all over my stuff? If that's happening for you, it may be this acceleration of light moving through you, and your life is literally responding by up leveling. You are up leveling. And so all the stuff that you don't need, the ick, is moving out. So it's important, like, you're going to continue to go through phases like that through your entire life, right? Like, it happens and then you ground and you center. It happens and you ground and center. That's part of how we grow. So if you're thinking of starting your energy healing practice, or you keep false starting with it and you're trying to figure out how to get over that hump and to really get momentum in your business and in your practice, then the answer isn't to wait until all the karma goes away. It doesn't work that way. The answer isn't to wait until you just have more time from the 50 things that you're handling. Because in fact, there's not going to be more time. Things will sort of settle and new things will open the moment you start moving into that energy again. Does that make sense? So in order to address that, what you actually need to do is raise your vibration. Now, I don't actually like to often use that term raise your vibration, because it sounds like we're trying to get away from some lower vibration. And I don't think that's actually what's happening. Actually, we're not raising our vibration. We're learning to resonate more deeply in our intentions, resonate more deeply in who we are, what we stand for, what we're here to do, and the actions that we need to take. And the more clear we are, the more crystal clear we are, and the more our vibration is just like pure love, pure joy, pure excitement, pure hope, pure passion, the easier it is. Like that's like the vibe just goes and it shakes off all that other stuff. And the answers for how to deal with all of that other stuff come quickly, right? So it's really about this deep, 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 deep resonance. But in the rest of the world, maybe outside of my office, I don't know, other people may think of it that way too, but a lot of times people call that raising your vibration, right? So I think there's a lot of little ways to do that, and I've talked about that in previous videos inside of the Facebook group. But I've found that as an energy healer, especially if you're working with other people, you need like significant raising, not just like, oh, I'm going to say a couple of affirmations a day. It needs to be a vibrational entrainment that helps you to rise up in those moments where you're feeling funkalicious, right? And so what I found to be really helpful for that actually is music. It really is. And especially in springtime, when the sounds of spring are already there for us, right? So you can, like, if you guys are familiar with Tom Kenyon, I love Tom. Oh, in fact, here. I got this years ago. Tom Kenyon is a sound healer. I got this years ago. I really love this. It was the Sahu Hathor Intensive, and it's a recorded sound workshop. But there's like a couple of sound healing tracks in there that, for me, especially as an Egyptian priestess, are just like it's like a big hug from spirit. It's like drifting on clouds. And when I play those particular tracks for my energy field and just with what my particular challenges or wounds happen to be, every time I play those particular sounds, um, it literally just feels like the crust of my ego or my fear just shakes off and moves away. And I instantly feel my guides light up around me and my own energy becomes a lot more clear. So if you keep false starting with your business, or you keep starting and then just feeling like there's so much karma to wade through, it may be that you're still strengthening your own channel to be able to just welcome in big loads of light to clear that out. And it's really important at those times to like remember the magic sort of 3 points that we talk about. Actually, in Reiki Master, we talk more about this, but like even the Triquetra, you can see these 3 points. And specifically for business, it's that your business needs to have the practical pieces that allow you to reach out. That's like planting real seeds. But you also need magic. You need the energy. You need this vibrational piece. So if you can't get there with your own channel, you've got to put on music like Tom Kenyon, or be aware of what you're listening to, even on the radio. Listen to the type of music that carries transmission and opens you up and lights you up. So you really are bringing in the energy. You're really activating your channel, not for your own personal reasons even, but just to commune with spirit and really allow your gratitude to hold the space for the spirit to move through you and to heal around you and to be of service around you. And that will help stabilize that. And then the other side of that is, like the craft of what you actually do. So if you're a Reiki practitioner trying to work on your Reiki business, like making sure you're actually doing Reiki, right? So those 3 points need to be there. And if you're missing those, if you're not paying attention to the business pieces for how to actually grow your business, you're going to struggle. You're going to false start because you won't know what you're doing and you won't get anywhere. If you're not like listening to your heart and just bringing in the energy, if you don't have the energy, you can't get anywhere. It's like a car without gas. Could be an amazing car. No gas, no drive. And then your craft, like you've got to tend your craft, and your craft is going to continue to change and evolve every year, all the time, till you die. You could be, who knows what you'll be doing in 15 years, 20 years, probably not what you're doing right now, so you tend that too. And together, when you're handling those 3 pieces of the wheel, you really do just create this a lot of space for manifestation and success in your business. And the same thing applies to your life, right? So whatever you're going through in your life, you really want to bring in the energy and then work your craft and work your mindset and work your heart around those pieces and, tend it. So I've been talking a lot, but I really appreciate just your comments. Hi, Carolina. Hello, Vicky. Yes, yep, absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Pisces, Aries access. Yes, such great comments. You guys have to read the comments if you're here in the group. Yeah, so, I think that for the springtime, this upcoming Monday, I have a Q&A for students in Zoom on Monday. And I will probably end up doing a little bit of magic there, but really it's a space for you. So if you have questions about your current Reiki practice and you've taken classes with me, come take advantage of that Monday. Sign up for Monday and come receive a little magic, receive a little transmission, and just share. Let's connect and find out where you're at and say hello and be witnessed in your community, And then Tuesday next week, I will probably be back on here in this space because it's also a new moon, a dark moon, and then a new moon. They're like 2 sides of a coin. So we'll be doing some kind of, working in here of some sort next week as well. But this today is really just about bringing into your awareness the spring equinox and remembering as an energy healer that part of how you ground your actual energy is by celebrating and being present with these sacred anchor points of the year. So you can dress up your altar. I have my altar over there, looking at it. You can dress up your altar with fresh flowers from outside or little pieces of nature you found. You can do some fun things that remind you of spring. If you want to start Easter eggs now, you can decorate some eggs, do some craft work, things that allow you to kind of meditatively check in with who you are and who you're becoming. Yes, working on your energy daily, especially when you don't want to work your energy. That's when you got to work your energy the most. Yep, that's absolutely true. So um, I have found that off and on through my 15 years of doing energy work and just working with people, I've gone through phases where I feel really introverted, other phases where I feel outgoing. I've gone through phases where my mind is like crystal clear and I remember all the things that I need to do to tend my business. I've gone through phases where I am so confused and I forget my light. I forget how everything is supposed to work. And I'm like, what do I do now? And it's terrible, let me tell you. And then I come back to it, right? And I think it's part of the human experience that we have these cycles and these cyclical flows, like sine and cosine waves that move through our lives. And that's why we need our communities and we need these little basic things like the Reiki share that is happening every month here, the first Saturday of the month in Zoom. And it's free. We have these things to help us actually keep remembering who we are and returning us to who we are, because we forget. And we don't need to. We don't want to forget, right? So I think this is all I have today. I could totally go start riffing on other stuff. Like now I'm thinking of old ancient Egyptian myths and like even like this is a good one for spring though. There's a story in which the Isis, before Isis was a goddess, she was a human, just like you and me. She's just chilling on the earth. Maybe she was a goddess before. She came to the earth to be a human, to remember that she was a goddess. Here's Isis hanging out. She's like working. She's mastered all this earth magic. She knows about all this metaphysics. She's doing crazy magical things in her community. And every day she sees the sun going by and she's like, God, that sun, it's magical. And she sees the sun god Ra with his chariot and his beautiful golden shining body and all of his power, this creator god. And Isis is like, I want some of that. I don't want Ra. I want to be that. I want to be a goddess. I want to be a god. I'm ready to become something else. I'm having fun here. I'm ready to be more. I believe that I have something really that I can contribute to this world. I really do. And I feel like if I had the means to do it, then I would do it, right? So Isis contrives she does some earth magic, straight up earth magic, in order to capture the energy of Ra. She creates like a little clay snake, says some magic words over it, puts it in the pathway of the sun god. This is some wily, gnarly stuff, right? And Ra, as he's walking, he's like sweating every day. And he's like, and some of his sweat from being in the sun lands on the clay snake and brings it to life. And the snake bites him. It bites Ra, and he is afflicted. He's so sick. Isis actually used his own power against him in some ways. So here comes Isis with her trickstery plans. Maybe this story doesn't reflect the best on Isis, but she comes out and she's like, oh my gosh, you've been bit. Yeah, okay, I bit you. I used my snake to bite you because I want to become a goddess. And Ra is like, no, that's not how this works. You're a human. And she's like, well, this snake bit you and it's your sweat that created the snake. So you're going to die. You're going to like, you're not going to be good. And Ra is like, no. And he starts to get really sick and he's in pain. And none of the other gods can do anything, nothing about it. and he's just suffering because of his own medicine. There's a lot of wisdom in these stories, right? But long story, let's speed up a little bit. Isis says, I can cure you, but you need to give me your name. You've got to give me your name because I can't work the magic to cure you unless I have your name. And the name is what holds your power. So Ra gives her a bunch of fake names. He's like, I am he who crosses the sky. She's like, that's not your name. It's not working. You're not healing. It's not your name. What's your real name? And he gives her all these names and he's like, if I give you my real name, you're going to die. Like my name is so powerful. The pure power of me is so much that you can't hold it. And you're going to die. Like the moment you hear my name, you'll just expire. And she's like, nope, that's not going to happen. So Isis had done her work. If we think about this as the seasons, she created the balance, the dynamic balance necessary in her life to hold this new creation. She was ready to receive this energy and birth herself as a goddess. And I'm hoping that you guys can take this wisdom and do the same for yourself this season, right? In spring, it's time for you to also birth this new iteration of you, whatever it is that you're working on this season. So Isis was ready. She's like, no, I've done my work. I'm ready to receive your name. My vibration, my wisdom, my magic is enough to hold what you wanted to give to me. And my will is so strong and clear. I know exactly where I'm headed. So Ra says his name. And the moment he says his name, blood pours out of her ears. She feels like she's going a little bit crazy, but she's done her work. So the blood goes off and becomes other magical creatures. And holding the power of his name, she's able to cure him and bring him back to full health with his medicine. And that power is hers now also. So she actually elevates and becomes a goddess because she's able to hold the energy of a god. And she is a goddess from that point on, and in fact is then known by all gods and all people of Egypt as one more august than the gods. They see her and know her to be wise and wily and a little bit gnarly. And Isis is the one you want on your team when things are going wild. And from that point on, Isis becomes the goddess who makes kings, who elevates people into their power, who crowns people and reminds them of their sovereignty and their worth, right? So this spring, as we head to these cross quarters, remember that story and remember that for yourself. Like Isis reminds us that as humans, we really have the power to bring ourselves to the next level, and we have to be willing to take those steps. So step into your sovereignty and look at your dynamic balances and decide what seeds you're planting or what clay snakes you're making, what stories you're contriving that will bring you to your fruition as the year evolves. And if you're struggling with really practical things like your health or like money or like love relationships or abuse or family, just take one of those as a seed and really use this cross-quarter point to drop into your deeper wisdom about how you want to work with those pieces and see your clear victory in the summer. Okay? That is all I have today. That's really all I have now. Like 9 minutes after I last said that. I'm wishing you a lot of love and thank you for those who joined us live. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Ellie and Patrick and Carolina and anybody else. I am sending so much love to you guys out there. I'm so tempted to do energy work now that we've done all that talk, but come back here. If you want energy work, you can come back on Tuesday. We have the new moon or dark moon intention setting. And we also have on Monday, I'm going backwards, Monday, we have the Q&A. So if you are a Reiki student of mine or an alumni of my Reiki classes, sign up for that, where you can ask your questions or just be witnessed in space and be a little part of a little bit of spring magic with me on the equinox. And if you're struggling with your business or you're just trying to sort those pieces out, reach out to me. Like, don't sit there and struggle in silence. You may or may not end up working with me. I don't know. We don't know. but at least you can be witnessed and have a kind voice and a kind connection to help point you a little bit in the next direction for you, and help you be more aligned for the spring. Here, otherwise, at Healing Heart Reiki, we have a couple of classes that are starting this week and weekend. Tomorrow, Healers in Business, our 12-week program officially begins. So we've got wonderful people lining up to come into that sacred business circle. And we'll be meeting on Wednesdays and Fridays regularly for that, in that container, for the next 3 months. Yeah, 12 weeks, 3 months. And doing a bunch of magic there, and a lot of practical stuff to build your business and just take you to the next level wherever you happen to be, right? And then on Sunday, this upcoming Sunday, I'm also going to be teaching a Reiki 2 training. So again, that's all about the sound healing elements and the sacred seed sounds of Reiki, working with your guides, working with crystals. And the current format for that is 3 mornings. So this particular class is a Sunday, a Tuesday, and a Tuesday, where we really get to dive deep and get to know each other, and give you those the Reiki. You'll receive the Reiki attunements and transmissions. It's a lot of fun. So join that if you feel called to join. Just reach out. There's still time. And beyond that, I look forward to seeing everybody soon.